All right, just by a show of hands this morning, and feel free to type it online if you're worshiping with us today. How many of you have been to Five Below before? Five Below, very good. You know, every couple months, my wife and I like to take our two daughters to Five Below, and if you've never been to Five Below or have heard of Five Below before, basically, it's a store with a bunch of really cool toys and exercise equipment and sporting goods and electronics, and the best part is that everything is $5 or below. Now, our youngest daughter, Haley, she's not quite old enough yet to be able to pick out a toy on her own, but our 4-year-old Abigail, she is. And so whenever we go on this trip, I say, okay, Abigail, we're going to Five Below today, and with the exception of candy, you can pick out any one item in the entire store. And friends, she loves this because she gets to pick out whatever toy or item that she wants to get. So about a month ago, we go to Five Below, and as per usual, I'm sort of following Abigail around as she's picking out her items. She likes to get like about 5 or so to kind of see who's in the running of the toys she's going to get. And after a few minutes of looking around, she had about 5 toys in her basket. I said, okay, Abigail, it's time for you to pick which one you want most, because remember, you can only pick one thing. And you could see the tension building in her face as she's trying to figure out which one do I want to get. Well, finally, she decided on this small miniature pony. And I said, okay, now we got to take all these other toys and go put them back where you found them. And usually, this is what she'd do. She has a great visual memory. She knows where she found these items. She'll go back. She'll place them where they need to go. Except for that day, she decided not to do that. Instead, she paused, and the gears started to turn in her head. And friends, this is the moment that every parent dreads. Okay, because this is the moment when flattery and charm and negotiation all join forces to try and take down even the most unsuspecting parent. And so here I was, she's looking at the 4 different items in her cart, and all of a sudden, she looks up at me and she says, Daddy, you need something from Five Below too. And I said, oh yeah, what do you think that I should get? And without skipping a beat, she reached into her cart and pulled out this item and said, Daddy, you would love this. And I said, Abby, that's an Anna and Elsa nail polish kit. Like, what in the world am I going to do with that? You know that Daddy doesn't paint his nails. She said, well, you can start painting your nails. And I said, somehow I'm getting the sneaking suspicion that you're trying to get me to buy this, not for me, but for you. And she said, well, of course, Daddy, we can paint our nails together. And I said, listen, Daddy doesn't need anything from Five Below. Let's go ahead and just put the toys back. And again, she paused, and you could see the gears turning in her head. And she takes about 2 seconds, and she goes, well, Daddy, you know, we should really get something for Mommy. And I said, well, listen, Mommy's on the other side of the store. I've already seen she's got a couple items in her hand. She doesn't need anything. Let's just go ahead and put the items back. And friends, at this point, you could sense the desperation of a 4-year-old that absolutely wanted everything in that basket. And so in a final-ditch effort, she says, well, Daddy, and she reaches in and she grabs one of the toys. She says, I think Haley would absolutely love this toy. And I said, Abigail, this toy says ages 3+. Your baby sister is not even a year old yet. I mean, look at all the small pieces. She's not going to be able to play with this toy until she's 3 years old. You know what Abigail said? Well, when she turns 3, she can play with it, and in the meantime, I can play with that toy for her. And I said, oh, you're such a kind and loving sister. And she just sort of grinned at me, thinking that she had just convinced me to buy another toy. Now, friends, here's the thing. On the one hand, there was absolutely no part of me that wanted to give in to this flattery and charm and negotiation, right? But on the other hand, I kind of had to appreciate her hustle, right? I mean, she was fearless in trying to get a second toy out of this trip. So finally I said, okay, Abigail, here's what we're going to do. You can pick out a toy for Haley, but it can't be this toy. It's got to be a toy that's age appropriate for her. And after she's done playing with it, then you can play with the toy as well. And her eyes lit up like she had just won the lottery, and she went around and she started looking for a toy. Eventually we found a toy, and we brought it up to the front. And by this time, as you know, if you've ever been to Five Below before, you think you're just going to spend close to $5, but it ends up being like $30, especially now that you have 2 toys. We did not really hit the mark of Five Below. But as I reflect on that experience, 2 things come to mind. Okay, number 1, kids are pretty fearless, aren't they? I mean, they are bold. They are courageous. They're not worried about a lot of the things that us as adults worry about. And number 2, kids are expensive. right? There's a reason why we go to Five Below instead of the kids section at Target. In fact, I read an article the other day that says that it costs $233,000 to raise a child. Now, that's enough to keep you from having kids, isn't it? $233,000 when everything is said and done. That includes food and clothing and medical expenses and education experiences, although I have to say, whoever did this study clearly did not have daughters, because there's no way it's just $233,000. Now, let's say that you have a bright 10-year-old in your home. Okay, let's say she comes to you one day and she says, "Hey, Mom, Dad, I read online in an article that it costs $233,000 to raise a child. And you know what? I was thinking that instead of just paying for me over time, why don't you just give me one lump sum today? In other words, I go my way, you go yours." Sounds great, right? Now, friends, you don't have to be Parent of the Year to know that there are some problems with this proposal. The main one being that a 10-year-old does not know how to spend and to take care of and to manage $233,000. Okay, if this was your child, you would not give them one lump sum. What would you do? You would give them what they need when they need it, right? And the reason you would do that is because reliance creates relationship. In other words, when your child comes to depend on you for all sorts of things, that relationship becomes stronger. You know, here's the thing. God, He wants the same for you and I. You see, sometimes we come to Him and we ask for one lump sum. God, answer all of my questions. God, give me everything I need right now, to which God says, okay, I'll give you what you need, but I'm going to give it to you when you need it.